Welcome back to Extreme Voltage. My name is D. Melkonian. It is July the 2nd, 2021. Welcome back. We're breaking down the NFL draft for the Chargers. Yes, your LA Chargers had a pretty good draft weekend just a few months back. We're going to break that down. We are not going to give a grade. We are not that person giving grades that we have no idea how these players are going to do. But guess what? I love what they did. Potentially, I love what the Chargers did in regards to getting some players. I'm going to go over that. We're going to analyze these picks. We're going to see how they're going to fit into this new scheme. And we're just going to get a better idea of what we're looking at for the 2021 season. So we will hold off on the grades, right? It's interesting. We check out these publications, want to read about our draft picks, which is very natural. And yeah, potentially every single pick should be an A for us, right? We're excited. We're fans. Want to see how it's going to go. There's some picks that come around. And you go, okay, who's this guy? I'm going to give him a C. I don't know. No, man. Let's play it out. Let these guys play it out. Let them put on some pads. Let them go down and start playing games in the third or fourth quarter. Let me see who's coming in and doing what. And then in a few years, we'll get a draft grade. Speaking of that, we are going to give a draft grade. And it's not for the 2021 season. It's for the 2017 draft. Many experts believe you'll need a good 4 years of evaluations in regards to how the players performed of that draft class. So we are going to do just that. We're going to take the 2017 class led by Mike Williams, and we're going to see the 4 years they've played out, how well we did in regards to the players on the team. Now, some players have left. We're going to see how those contracts worked out and what they did leaving the team and what kind of players they are. And then overall, we'll give you a grade based on all that, and we'll evaluate it that way, which is a much more serious and more realistic version of a draft grade. So we'll do that for 2017. I think you'll come up with a little bit of surprises on that just to get a good idea. But look, let's break this down a little bit. Rashawn Slater, first pick for the Chargers. Now, this was exciting because looking into this, I didn't think we were going to get him. I thought, obviously, Penei Sewell, the top, lineman in the draft. Even though I say that, but there was talks that Rashawn Slater had that left tackle argument or the best left tackle argument in the draft as well. So it wasn't a complete 100% Penei Sewell situation. So I think in that aspect, and I hope both players play great, which I think they will, but I think we'll see that hopefully we got someone solid, and hopefully the drop-off between Sewell and Slater is not substantial. So I'm looking forward on that. I love the fact that we got him, because this was a beautiful marriage of a need pick, which I'm not a big fan of in the draft, and top talent on the board. Right? So I think if you're able to combine that, if your GM and scouts are able to combine that formula and you get a player like Rashawn Slater, I think you're doing really, really well in the draft. Now if he doesn't end up well and there's injuries and all that stuff that can come in and derail a player's career, then, it is what it is. It's a negative. But you have to keep swinging for the stars, right? You got to keep hitting that ball. And I think Tom Telesco and his scouts did just that. No picks no trades were needed to get up there and get Rashawn. He fell to us at number 13 out of Northwestern. So that was really a choice pick as well. The fact that he fell to us in that round at number 13, because I think he was looking at top 10 as a top 10 pick and inside the top 10 potentially. And I thought even Minnesota would have grabbed him before us if they traded up, or some other tackle needy team would come up and get him. So I was pleasantly surprised and ecstatic that we finally got a left tackle. Right, so this is going to be a nice addition to this revamped offensive line, which Pro Football Focus has now established it as a top offensive line in the NFL this season. As a matter of fact, Pro Football Focus called it the Chargers offensive line as the most improved positional group in the NFL this offseason. And that's going to be a nice benefit, since we were one of the worst offensive lines last year. We were the lowest offensive line graded last year at 48.8 by PFF. So it's nice to see the addition, and again, we talked about this on our last podcast. If you haven't had a chance to hear it, please go back and check it out. But we talked about the addition of this offensive line group. So it's nice to see the free agency portion came in, right, with Lindsey coming in, Corey Lindsey from the Green Bay Packers, with Matt Filer from Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, Oday Abushi and from Detroit as the guard, just added a nice threesome on that offensive line that we haven't had, along with hopefully a fresh and injury-free Brian Blaga handling the right side for us. And now you bring Rashawn in, and he's going to be anchoring hopefully that left side. And look, he's penciled or penned in. This is his job to lose, right? Who are you giving it up to? Trey Pipkins? We talked about that last time. We like Trey potentially, right? But he's not there yet. So this is the job for Slater. He's got to come in. He knows it. This is his job to lose, and it just depends how fast he's going to grow into it and how quickly he's going to be a substantial factor for these Chargers. And I'm thinking based on his 4 years at Northwestern, with that type of offense that they were structured in, an NFL-ready offense, I think that's going to be effective. Jumping to round 2 now, this was the round I kept thinking, okay, they're going to make a push. The Chargers are going to somehow make a trade up because I don't think you're going to get Asante Samuel in number 47. So I go, look, we all kind of had the idea, right? Asante Samuel was going to be the guy, right? Patrick Surtain had already gone, so he said, okay, this is the guy we need, one of the top corners in this draft because potentially they were looking at him as a mid to late round first rounder. I was hearing a lot of late round first picks for Asante. So I thought maybe this is one of those times that Tom, and he loves to do this, he comes back, he packages a few draft picks, comes back and grabs another player, a la the Kenneth Murray situation last year when he came back in the first round, Tom did, and he was able to obtain Murray that way. So I thought for sure this is going to be one of those situations as Asante was falling in the first round. I thought maybe they're going to come up and grab him at that point. Now, the second day when the second round started, I go, okay, this is maybe the opportunity where they're going to come up because I don't think he's going to last for the 47th pick. And sure enough, the NFL gods, football gods were smiling upon the Chargers as Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State became your cornerback for the LA Chargers. You're going to get some guys hitting you, and hey, he's not big enough, he's not tall enough, he's not this, he can't cover the X outside, he's going to get outmanned. You know, man, give me a player. I don't care if this guy is 6'5". I don't care if he runs a 4.2 or 4.3 or 4.4. If he can cover and he's a baller, I'll take him. And even if his size is not that great and they keep beating up on it, that's why I think he fell. I think he's going to be an excellent pick, and we're just going to see how well he translates his game into the NFL. And I think he's going to do excellent. Just based on his career, I think you're going to see he's a playmaker. We've seen these offenses just explode, right? And I think a lot of the rules are made against the defense, and it really is for the offense's exploitation. But I think you're going to see some excellent work on this side by Asante Samuel. This kid knows how to play. He's a 3-year starter out of Florida State. He lined up as right corner in defensive coordinators, the Adam Fuller scheme, and he mainly played the press off coverage as well as zone mixes as well. Dane Brugler from The Athletic had a great breakdown for Asante Samuel and really explained the facets of his game, and I'm using that as our analysis today. And again, I think he's going to bring a lot of that prowess and a lot of that playmaking ability to garner him starting, potentially being a starter on this defense. Now they've got a set defense here, right? You got Mike Davis, they got Chris Harris, both on the outsides right now. So I think with the addition of Asante coming in, they could potentially either play him in a slot position or be able to mix him back outside as well. So I think these are some of the things that we're looking at. We're looking for a starting position out of him this year, but I'm not stressed if he's not. I think you'll see a lot of nickel coverage opportunities, dime coverage opportunities when he comes into the game. So I think they're going to try to mix him in and sprinkle him in. You got to keep the confidence of these corners too, because these guys got to establish that confidence, got to establish that play, that aggressive play, because look, aggressive corners, you're going to get burned. Okay, it's going to happen. And that's not a sign of you not knowing how to play football. It's just that the transition will take place. It's not that easy at times. It's one of the tougher transitions to make. But I'm really excited that they got Asante Samuel where they did without giving up any draft capital to obtain him. So that was nice, and I'm looking forward to see how he's gonna rock and roll in training camp soon. In the third round, the Chargers made a selection, and I thought this was really a pick that I was not expecting at all. Josh Palmer, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Didn't know him, didn't have a lot of information about him, didn't expect a wide receiver in the third round. I expected maybe a receiver later in the draft. I didn't expect it in the third round, and I didn't know who he was. And I wasn't seeing those kind of flashy numbers that you would expect for a third round pick. But I'm going to tell you something. Reading more about him and getting some analysis around the league, you're seeing potential Mike Williams-esque type of player with some really, really strong hands. He's a 6'1", 210 senior out of Tennessee, and Tennessee had issues with quarterback play throughout the career. So his numbers are not gonna bedazzle you, right? You're not gonna have those numbers coming out of Alabama or Oklahoma or something else that's gonna just wow you. In 2020, he played 10 games. He had 33 receptions for just under 500 yards with 4 touchdowns, led the team in receiving. So the numbers aren't going to splash you up. The year before, with 13 games played, he had about the same kind of numbers, 34 for 450 and only 1 touchdown. So the production really wasn't there. However, with his size and his hands and his ability and his route running, they really picture him and envision him being a strong part of the receiving core. And this might be a pick that potentially replaces Mike Williams, because even though I'd love for Mike to stay, this is his last year for his 5th-year option. So with that 5th-year option gone this year, it's going to be another contract negotiation for him next year or a franchise tag. So I think this provides the blanket coverage where we're going to take a look and see how our third-round pick, Josh Palmer, based on his size, obviously he's a little bit smaller than Mike, but the gameplay, he plays bigger. Again, the production wasn't there to showcase that. However, based on scouts' view and what they envision him playing at the next level, I think you're going to see that as a cornerstone. Now, if they're able to sign Mike and they keep, obviously they use Josh Palmer and he really accelerates and becomes that 3-headed monster as for the receivers with Keenan, that's going to be an amazing type of cast to have for Justin. So this is going to be interesting to watch. I'm very curious to see how he's going to do. I've been watching some mini camp footage of him. He looked great on tape. He's very fluid. Again, we're playing in shorts and t-shirts. Let's put the pads on and see how it goes. But he played really well. You saw those tapes against Patrick Surtain and how well he played these top-rated corners this season. The potential is there, and we're just going to see how well he plays it. He doesn't have a lot of injury concerns to worry about as well, and that always helps to have strong DNA coming into the NFL. So, and he was a very strong Senior Bowl participant in practices this year as well. So I'm looking forward to see how Josh is going to do. In the third round, the Chargers made a selection, and I thought this was really interesting. This was a pick that I thought was going to go tight end. I just did not think it was this tight end. And I'm talking about Georgia tight end Trey McKitty. I did not know him. Just like the Josh Palmer situation, I was not expecting this pick as him. I thought it was going to be the Notre Dame tight end or some other, or maybe the Florida State tight end coming in. But the more I read about him, and I was able to listen to an interview on Moving the Chains a couple months back, the kid's very smart. The kid is smart. He knows football. He loves football. He's a strong, fast, agile kid, and he is potentially going to be a really strong playmaker. Now, people are saying that they envision him as a blocking tight end and inline tight end, which he can do. He has the size to do that, and that's great. But I think you're getting more from Trey McKitty. Senior Bowl participant this year, just very athletic, very agile. He is potentially a playmaker because he moves very well with the ball. He has running back skills when he runs with the ball, is what the analysis is. And with the scouts picking him in the 4th round, that was, and some guys might have been surprised by it, but that was one of the bigger issues, that they felt that he can really, really run with the ball once the ball is in his hands. And he has really soft hands. They just didn't use him that way in Georgia as much, right? After he transferred over from Florida State, they didn't utilize him that much in the passing game. So he was not that caliber of statistical value. However, based on what he has and what he can do on the field with his size and his speed and his agility, how fast he can transition to the NFL offense, which I think coming in from Georgia and Florida State, you're going to have that capability. I think it's going to be fun to watch. Looking back at Trey McKitty's career, again, he did start out in 2017 at Florida State. Really only played in 2018 and 2019 with them, just 2 touchdowns during that time period. Then transferred over to Georgia. He missed the first 2 games due to some injuries issues, but in regards to that, he had 6 receptions, 108 yards, and with 1 touchdown this year, only with 7 games. So you're looking at those kind of statistical issues. You're thinking, okay, this is not what I'm thinking is going to dominate in the NFL, right? But again, he's a move tight end. He's a move tight end, meaning he's going to be going out. He knows how to run routes with his size. Again, we're looking at 6'4", 246. That's a wallop. He's coming at you at 22 years of age. He's a strong pass catcher, and I think, again, it's run after the catch ability and how fast he can get into the scheme. And I'm looking at a 12 personnel scheme with these Chargers, right? Meaning 1 running back, 2 tight ends. So I see a lot of that happening. I see him in the blocking scheme. I see him going out. I think he will do a great job bringing that kind of aggressive force. And again, red zone playmaking ability, third down playmaking ability. I think it's nice to put the pressure off the receivers and have that tight end that get that one-on-one matchup with a strong safety or a linebacker. And potentially, now you got Eckler in the backfield. You've got the 3 receivers up there, and now you've got McKitty as well. So I think it's going to be a nice athletic mix, and I'm really excited to see. That's one of the guys I'm really, really excited to see in training camp and see how fast he's going to transition to Lombardi's offensive scheme. In the 4th round, this is where the edge pass rusher came in, Chris Rumph. Defensive end / edge out of Duke. Now, Chris has this is a big talk in town because Chris coming in, this is going to be maybe a really, really nice pick coming in because they expect a lot coming from the outside. I think Chris will do a really good job blending in with Nwasu and with Joey Bosa and getting in those kind of reps. Like he's pretty much taking Isaac Rochelle's role as the backup edge rusher, right? You'll look at that, but I think they can also sprinkle him in for that. He's got a lot of twitch to him, and I think you're bringing some explosion into him. So I don't think it's just a guy coming off the bench to relieve Bosa and Nwasu. I think you can use him as a weapon. I think he's got the speed coming out that can really derail, especially third down packages. You can see that speed rushers coming in, and I think Chris Rumph, they'll sprinkle him in, but don't be surprised if you see some splash plays being made this year with Chris Rumph, and it's a position to grow into. I don't think he's a finished product in any way. That's something they're going to work with. Maybe more weight, potentially. Maybe just more playability and seeing a lot more offensive line blocking and get his pass rush moves working. That's going to be the big thing with all edge rushers. This is big transition going from college to the NFL. But I think 4th round was a really good pick for him. I read about him before. I've watched him a little bit on tape, so I'm looking to see how fast he's going to start getting into that explosion and really making a force for him in the NFL. Again, don't be shocked that you see a lot more splash plays happening this year with him, but also don't be disappointed that he might not show up in every game, right? Guys like this, they're going to have their ups and downs with it as well. So that's another issue is let's give him some time. That's developmental. You might not see his potential for at least 2 years until he gets his feet wet, get this pass rushing ability going in the NFL, because now you're seeing guys that could do, counteract with second and third moves against these pass rushers. So it does take a while to build that repertoire and the skill set needed to be an effective pass rusher, because look, he's got the speed, right? He's got the moves to come in, but with these O tackles and these guards, they can do some things for you and make it really hard on you. So it will be a transitional time for him. He's not a first-round draft pick coming in for a reason, but I think with the skill set he has, he could potentially make those splash plays this year. Third down packages, speed packages, blitz packages, and we'll work him along the way. And he's got 2 great guys to work under with Bosa and Nwasu. So, and again, he had a really good career at Duke. He had 34 tackles for losses, pretty much in his 3-year career. He redshirted in 17. So using 3 years of that, 34 TFLs is great. 125 tackles overall, 17 and a half sacks with 2 forced fumbles, and 5 passes defended. He was a 3rd-team All-ACC back in 19 and 2nd-team All-ACC in 2020. So I love the TFLs, man. I love the fact that he's playing really well on that end. He's a playmaker, and that's what you're looking at. You're looking at to see guys that can step up and be a playmaker in this in the NFL. So I think it's nice to see. He's got a really quick first step. Some of the analysis I'm looking at from the Dana Brogler's analysis on the Beast for the Athletic. So in regards to that, he's got slippery body type, and blockers will have a tough time finding his center, is what he explains. So I think using that, it's one of the highlights for him. Again, he's got that. If you watch him on tape, he's got that body style that he can just fly past you, and I think that works well. And I think that's already a strong skill set that he's coming in with. Once he starts building that frame, and once he starts working on the additional pass rush moves, that can be a really strong player in the NFL. Brendan Jaimes from Nebraska was your fifth-round pick for the Chargers this year, standing at 6'5", just under 300 from Austin, Texas. And he had a really distinguishable 4-year career in Nebraska. He started out with 9 games as a true freshman at right tackle, starting all of them. And then they converted him to left tackle. And he started every single game in Nebraska. I'm looking at it right now, 40 out of 40 games. So again, I think you're also looking at DNA, man. I got to tell you, football DNA. And when I bring that up, I'm talking about how well can you play with injuries and not have to be forced out of games because of nicks and bruises. And 40 out of 40. I got to tell you, when scouts are looking at that and you're choosing between a couple guys and one guy maybe might have a little more spectacular stats or have a little more size on somebody, and if they're pretty close, I'm going to go with the guy that has that DNA that keeps him in games. So out of his 4-year career, 40 out of 40 starts and games played. Again, 31 of them at the left tackle spot, 9 in the right tackle spot. Positional flexibility, as we've been discussing throughout the whole time, is a necessity. And I think you can definitely see him. I can see Brendan potentially moving to the right tackle spot and taking over for Brian Bulaga. That, I think, is the potential forecast because we have Brian for another year after this. If he's playing excellent, then great. Let's renew him with a contract. If not, there's a nice seamless transition, hopefully, with Brendan coming in. And I think you'll see a lot of swing tackle opportunities this year for him as well, to being that swing tackle guy to compete with Trey Pipkins and Storm Nortons and so forth. So let's see how that works out. But I'm happy with him. I'm excited to get this kid. He's just under 22 years of age. So good pick on that one in the 5th round. 6th round, you got the running back Larry Roundtree, the 3rd out of Missouri. He's a work back too. He's not a small guy. 5'10", 211 pounds, just over 22 years of age. And he goes by Trey. So we're gonna have 2 players with Trey as their names. I love that. Again, 4-year player for the Missouri Wildcats, 746 carries, over 3,700 yards, averaging 5 yards a pop, 40 touchdowns, 47 receptions in a career, just under 290 yards, 6.1 average. With no touchdowns on that end, but 40 touchdowns in his career with Missouri. And again, 5'10", 211. He reminds me a lot of Justin Jackson, right? I think the same kind of style is there, hard runner. Again, these cats have had a lot of wear and tear on them. He's played 48 games and started 30 of them. So again, strong DNA. Looks like he's going to be doing really well, and I'm looking to see how he's going to do. Again, a 3-year starter. And he was a featured back at a very heavy motion, up-tempo, pro-style offense. So I think looking at that, it might be a nice transition to Lombardi's Chargers offense we're going to be seeing in 2021. So excited to see how he's going to turn out with that, and I anticipate him being on this roster. 6th round brought Nick Niemann, linebacker from Iowa. Again, strong-looking player. Played a lot there. I think you're going to be seeing Nick Niemann, special team player, need that stud out there running and tackling. I'll see, again, linebacker, potentially a Drew Tranquil type player that can also cover. So looking forward to see how he's going to do in the 6th round. Lastly, we have Mark Webb, defensive back from Georgia, and they're looking at more of a nice safety. Again, transitional, strong safety to free safety role on that end. Mark Webb has some really good size on him, 6'1", 207, and again, a 4-year player He switched from wide receiver to defensive back, as a matter of fact, in 2017. Again, coming out of high school, he was a four-star wide receiver. So transitioning from that to defensive back does take a little bit of work. But I'm looking to see how he's going to do in regards to transitioning to the NFL side, as we talk about these guys. I think the trade is there, the 6'1", the size. I think you're seeing a lot more of a hybrid strong to free safety, a nice backup to Nasir and to Derwin. So I think that's what he's looking at if he's going to make this team. He's looking at really standing out. And again, he hasn't had a lot of work as a starter per se. He's only played 9 games as a starter in 2019 and only 3 in 2020. So the production really isn't there to see what he's going to do. But again, he's got really good tangibles with the size. 4.6 40, which is still a decent time frame. Again, if you're playing that zone schemes and you're covering tight ends and so forth. So I think he's got a good shot. He's got a good shot being in camp and see what he can do as a backup. So overall, the Chargers, these are the picks. And look, it's exciting. It's exciting to see that in the first day you get Slater. And you get that left tackle that you needed so desperately without giving up capital. Second round with Asante. Again, that defensive back corner situation was desperately needed, especially with Casey leaving. So this was a nice pickup to have, especially the fact that they were looking to get him. It seemed like throughout this whole process, that was the guy they were looking at, and it was a potential first rounder that fell to them in the second round. So those are the top ones to look at. But again, they've added some good guys with some receivers, with Palmer, with Trey McKitty, the tight end, that can really quietly bring this team up and really give them a nice whole balanced attack. So there's some really good elements that came in with this draft, not just the left tackle or corner, but again, with the addition of some of these guys in the third and fourth round, I think you're going to see some positive stuff. Again, don't discount the pass rusher from Duke, and don't discount the fact that you got a potential right tackle waiting with Jaime coming in next year or the year after to take over on the right tackle spot. So good stuff along the way from Tom Telesco. We'll get a grade on it in about 4 years. We'll see how it goes, right? But in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on these guys this season and see how they're doing at training camp. 2017 draft. Yes, I know we're in 2021. I know, breaking news, we're here. But this is how we analyze it and say, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Because otherwise, if you just give me a draft grade for the year you drafted, we are living in Fantasy Island. So let's talk about our 2017 draft, shall we? 2017 first rounder, Mike Williams, number 7 pick overall, Mike Williams. Look, I love Mike, but back then I was yelling at my TV to get McCaffrey, right? Yelling, but no one wanted to hear it. It's okay. Mike's on board. And hey, we love Mike. I don't know about you guys. I absolutely love Mike. He is a baller. He goes out and he makes plays and he doesn't care what happens to his body. And we've seen it. How about that amazing catch he had against New Orleans last year that set him up to go to overtime? How about that catch he had in the Kansas City Chiefs a couple of years back in Kansas City and won that game for them at the end with that 2-point conversion? How amazing was that? Mike Williams, man, he's the guy, forget the 50-50 ball. If you throw up a ball to Mike up top to get, it's not a 50-50. It's a 75-25 ball that he's going to catch for you, because that's how he plays. He's big enough as is, but he will go up and he makes himself even bigger. He is that type of guy. 6'4", 220. I mean, talk about the strength and size on this guy. In 2020, he had 48 receptions, just over 750 yards, 15.8 yards per catch with 5 touchdowns. In his career, he's had 56 games. He has 151 total catches for over 2,500 yards, 16 yards per catch with 17 touchdowns. So that's his career right now. Now, he's had a lot of injuries he's handled throughout the season. Nothing that's going to take him out completely, but he's battled through a lot of these injuries, right? Back injuries and so forth, some leg injuries, and he just plays that way. He's a Superman type of player. He's always flying high. Like every time I see Mike Williams, he is flying and catching balls. He's making some tough circus type catches and getting hits. So he is a tough player, and that's why they kept his 5th-year option at $15 million this year, I believe, right? That's why they paid that money to keep him. I'm hoping they can redo that contract and get him on at least another 3 years past this point. But they decided to keep him for that money, and it looks like he's going to be worth it. He's making Julio Jones money. I mean, if you really want to look at it, look at what Julio Jones gets paid this year and what Mike Williams getting paid. So you expect that kind of performance, and Mike can bring that as a younger player with some great size. And I think he stays healthy and he becomes a focal point on this team. You're seeing a huge amount of production coming his way. So that's exciting to see. So Mike Williams, I gave him, now I'm going to base this on a 0 to 100 rating for each player. And then we'll take that and then we'll average it out per player. So we had 7 players on this draft for 2017. I'm going to give Mike an 83. And that's a little low. I think he should be more like an 85 or 86 or 87. But I'm going to give him an 83 based on the injuries he's had as well. So I'm going to go with that as a conservative estimate. And on our scale, that's still a very strong B. So we're going to go with that. And I'm going to go 83 on that end. Sliding back to second round, this is where I was so excited in 2017. I thought this was the guy we got to hold up our left tackle spot, and it never worked out, which was sad for him and for the Chargers, and it derailed us for a few years. Forrest Lamp, what a highly touted prospect coming in, and I remember we got him in the second round. It was a steal because he should have been a first rounder, many experts were thinking, and I was in the same boat saying, wow, we got a guy in the first round, and he immediately in training camp, I think it was the first or second day. I could have sworn it was the first day. He tore his ACL, right? And that was it. That injury plagued career always was an issue. His ankle and so forth. It became a problem. So it took a while for him to get started. He finally played last year and the year before. Again, injuries were part of his career. So Forrest Lamp signed a 1-year, just over $1 million contract with the Buffalo Bills. So he's going to get a second shot somewhere else to be the guard tackle that he can be. So with that grade, I'm going to give him a 68, and I'm going to punch him over to 70 just because he got that new contract. So I'll put him at a 70 grade on that one. Let's move on to our third round with Dan Feeney. Dan came in as a third-round pick, playing the guard spot. Again, both guard spots. Did a really great job doing that. His effort was amazing. He wasn't the best in what he did, but I think he is a strong player. That is a tough player on the line. That's what you want. You want that guy being the hard-nosed guy that's going to give you those run yards, and that's what Dan Feeney did for you. Of course, he went to center after the injury issues we had with Pouncey, and he played that center spot. Did a good job. Just got rewarded with another contract with the New York Jets. And the contract with the Jets is also a 1-year contract, much like Forrest. This one's a $3.5 million contract, so they like him and they paid some good money for him. So Dan Feeney, I gave a 75, including that new contract that he got. In the fourth round, Rayshawn Jenkins came in, and for a first year or two, again Rayshawn was did fine, but I thought the last few years he went to a whole different level, and he again the whole issue with Derwin James's injury and a lot of problems in the free safety issue. He played free safety. This kid went from a strong safety to a free safety spot, and the transition was smooth for him. It really was. His last 2 years, he did a great job with it, and he got rewarded. This fourth round pick just got a 4-year, $35 million deal with $16 million in guarantees with the Jaguars. So I'm going to take his grade because I gave Rayshawn Jenkins an 80, and I'm going to move him up to an 83 based on that contract. That's actually, we're going to make that an 85. That's a really strong contract to make, and I wish we kept him. I'm going to tell you right now, I wish we're able to keep this. That's one of the free agents that I was really upset that we lost this year. I thought Rayshawn, just a great player. Just, again, coming in as that drafted player, as a safety in the box, to transition your body and your playability style to free safety and just carry this team in the backfield. I thought, magnificent job, and I wish we kept him. The Jaguars got a good player. 2017 sixth round, 2017 fifth round. 2017 fifth round brought us Desmond King, safety out of Iowa. I like Desmond a lot. I know it didn't end well with a trade last year, which was kind of a joke of a trade. I really didn't get much for him, and I don't know what the problems were with the defensive coordinator and the head coaching issues with him. I don't know I know he had a couple of suspension days, and again, a lot of it isn't public. I know he played at an all-pro level at one time, and I like Desmond's play. I know he's kind of been pushed down a little bit for his coverage skills, lack of coverage issues. That hurt him recently. But I thought Desmond King was a great player for the Chargers for a number of years he was here. And again, punt returner as well. He did a really good job with that. And Desmond King, again, did a great job with the Chargers, I thought, for those years he was here. Was traded to the Titans last year, as we mentioned. And now he just signed a one-year contract that's worth up to $6 million with a Houston, Texas. And that's a $3.5 million deal, but that is going to be upgraded to $6 million if he has a lot of performance-based enhancements on there as well. So with that one, we gave Desmond King a 78. Sam Tevi was our pick in the 6th round. I like Sam. Sam tried to hold up the left tackle spot last year. A lot of problems. I think he had some issues with pass coverage. I think runability-wise, much, much better. Very athletic player. And I think that's what the coaches loved about him. And absolutely, he's with Indianapolis now. He got a decent contract. I really wish he stayed with us as a swing tackle. I think working with him, that would have been a nice situation. He's part of the team. He knows how this is played. I thought it would have been really nice to stay on this team. But he got a $2.5 million contract with the Colts. That's a good move for him. The Colts are looking strong on that offensive line, by the way. And they were looking at him as potential starting left tackle for them. So that's what they got at a really good price range. I gave Sam initially a 75. I'm going to bring him up to a 78 based on that contract. Lastly, Isaac Rochelle from Notre Dame came up as our defensive tackle. Had a chance to meet him. Really nice guy. I like Isaac. And again, another guy I wish we kept along. I thought he did a really strong job as the D tackle, DN position. He signed a 1-year, $2.5 million contract with the Colts. And that's a nice contract. That's a strong one. It's 1.25 is all guaranteed, by the way. So great stuff on that. I had given Isaac a 72 originally. I'm going to go ahead and move that up to a 77 based on that contract. So overall grade based on that, what I calculated was a 78.28 grade. On my scale, that falls to a C+. So looking at our ratings, again, C+ is what I'm giving them based on the draft picks we had, how they played for the Chargers during their 4-year stint, and I'm also adding the contracts they received following their 4-year stint with the Chargers. And interestingly enough, every single one of these guys is under contract somewhere. So nobody is out of the league. That's another thing to look at. After 4 years, is anybody out of the league? No. After 4 years, how many starters do you have? You have Mike Williams as a starter. You have Dan Feeney as a starter. You have Rayshawn Jenkins now as a starter. And you have Sam Tevi will count as a starter. So that's 4 starters out of that group, not just with the Chargers, obviously. But if you're looking at that, again, the contractual money that's involved in it as well. Mike Williams with $15 million, Rayshawn Jenkins with his $35 million for the 4 years. So that's some things you got to look at as well and consider. So this was a good draft class. C+ is nothing to be, again, you can even bring it up to a B-, quite honestly, with all the contracts we're seeing. I wouldn't mind to even call it that. So anywhere between a C+ and a B- is my grade. See what you guys think and see how you kind of grade it on your end. But we'll look at 2018 next year, obviously, and see how that falls out. And that was our class with Derwin James, Uchenna Nwasu, and Justin Jones, and Kazir White, and those guys. So we'll take a look at that. Otherwise, look, our next podcast is going to be up soon. I'm looking for a couple weeks before. I kind of want to do it during the training camp time as we pop up in the training camp. I want to start setting the stage for us for roster building and seeing how we're looking on all ends. I want to get a better idea of who's doing what. Hopefully these guys stay injury-free during training camp. We've had our fair share of issues throughout. And also in the future, we're going to be doing grading. We're going to start grading all the groups. So we'll do the wide receiver groups, the DB groups, the running back groups, the tight ends. We'll start putting grades on those guys as well. And I want to compare that with the AFC West. So we'll actually compare the rooms for the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chiefs, and we'll compare them head on against the Chargers and go and find out, which group has a better offensive line, which group has the better receivers, and so forth. I think it'll be a nice one to kind of contrast because divisional play is huge. You got 6 games in that division out of 17 games scheduled this year. So those are the wins you want to have. It's going to be tough and it's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited. I think this schedule is going to be outstanding. SoFi Stadium is outstanding. Had a chance to visit there with a family. I got a couple of seats up top. It's a little bit of a nosebleed section, but that's okay because I'll be at SoFi, hopefully enjoying the game and watching the Chargers play, and that's going to be phenomenal. If you guys get a chance to ever come by and catch a game there, I think it's going to be phenomenal. You'll love the stadium. I can't wait for it to start happening. So, looking forward to it. Thanks again for everybody. You've been great. Thanks for following us through. We're getting such a great response nationwide, and again, internationally. You guys have been great. Germany, England, France, Denmark, you guys, fantastic. And I apologize if I'm missing anybody out there that I haven't mentioned, but fantastic results we're getting. Please email me. Let me know what you guys think. It's going to be extremevoltagepodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, we're on Instagram at Extreme Voltage Podcast. You guys are great. I want to thank a few people out here. I want to thank Tyrell Mad Dog Wiggins. He is the man across the glass taking care of our sound, giving us all the stats we need. Thank you on that. I also want to thank our music provided by Kevin MacLeod for Strength of the Titans and the Ice Giants. You can find Kevin at filmmusic.io. Appreciate y'all. You guys have a great week, and I'll catch you soon. This is Extreme Voltage. My name is D. Melkonian. Take care.